If you had told me a year ago that I would one day own the restaurant where my so-called friends laughed at me, I probably would have smiled politely and nodded, all while thinking, you wish. But here I am, and this is how it happened. My name is Billy. I am not from a flashy background. No silver spoons, no rich uncles, no famous last names. I have a job title that, at least among my old high school group, is about as popular as a root canal. I'm a quality control analyst at a tech company. Yes, sounds boring. And yes, it doesn't scream power or money like CEO, lawyer, or influencer. But it pays my bills, keeps me independent, and gives me a little thrill of satisfaction every time I find a flaw no one else spotted. You know, the little victories. But back then, no one saw it that way. Especially not during that dinner. It was one of those catch-up evenings. A group chat was buzzing for weeks about finally meeting in person. We had all graduated from the same high school, and even though life had taken us in different directions, we tried to keep in touch. Or at least pretend to. I was excited at first. It had been years since I saw most of these people. They were lawyers, sales managers, marketing execs, basically people with fancy titles that could fill a resume and intimidate a room. Me? Just the quiet girl who liked puzzles and data. Not exactly the life of the party. The restaurant was trendy, in the heart of the city. A place with dim lights, exposed brick walls, and prices that would make your wallet sweat. But I didn't mind. I worked hard and saved. I wanted to enjoy a night out, be part of something bigger, even if it felt a little intimidating. I arrived early, nervously scanning the tables, trying to spot familiar faces. When the group finally gathered, the smiles and hugs were warm but slightly forced, like everyone was trying to pretend the years hadn't created invisible walls between us. The conversation started light. "What's new with everyone?" someone asked. One by one, they rattled off their accomplishments. Promotions, business trips, expensive vacations, engagement rings, new cars. The kind of stuff you see on Instagram but never get to live yourself. Then it was my turn. I cleared my throat and said, "I'm working as a quality control analyst at a software firm." A brief silence fell. Then came the snickers. A few raised eyebrows. One guy, Mark, laughed outright and said, "Quality control? So basically, you just find typos all day?" I forced a smile. More than that. I make sure the software runs smoothly and meets standards. It's detailed work, and I actually enjoy it. "Oh please," Lisa chimed in, flicking her hair. "Sounds like a glorified proofreader." "No offense." "No offense taken," I replied, but inside, my cheeks burned. The rest of the dinner continued with subtle digs disguised as jokes. Billy the typo hunter. Making sure the code doesn't break, how thrilling. Must be great to have such a glamorous job. Their laughter was easy and carefree, but to me, it felt like a spotlight, exposing how little they respected me. It wasn't just about my job. It was about everything I represented, the fact that I wasn't part of their world. But here's the thing, I didn't get angry. Not yet. I've learned that people like that crave reactions. They want to see you flinch, want you to prove them wrong in a desperate way. I wasn't going to give them that satisfaction. Instead, I smiled and changed the subject, asking about their vacations, their weekend plans, anything to steer away from me. But the seed of their mockery was planted deep inside me. After dinner, as we said our goodbyes, Mark said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Good luck with your proofreading empire, Billy." I laughed with them, but my mind was racing. That night, I lay awake, replaying every sarcastic comment, every smirk. I was angry, sure, but more than that, I was determined. I realized something very important: I didn't need their approval. But I did want to prove them wrong. Not by pretending to be like them, but by showing them that my success, however small in their eyes, was real and powerful. So I made a plan. I knew I couldn't just snap my fingers and become CEO or a millionaire overnight. But I could invest. I started reading everything I could about investing, about business, about how to turn money into more money. I took online courses, watched webinars, joined forums, and read books by self-made entrepreneurs. I saved every penny I could from my paycheck. No fancy dinners, no weekend splurges. It was hard, but the image of their faces, the laughter, the disdain, kept me motivated. Months passed, and I slowly built a portfolio of stocks and small investments. Some paid off, some didn't, but I learned from every mistake. I kept my progress a secret from the group chat, even when they boasted about their own financial wins. Then came an opportunity one couldn't ignore. The restaurant where we had that terrible dinner was up for sale. The owners wanted to retire, and the place was struggling financially despite its good location and reputation. It was the same restaurant where my friends had looked down on me. Where they had laughed as if my job was a joke. That's when I decided to make my move. I gathered all my savings, took a loan, and put in an offer. It was risky, but I believed in it. More than that, I wanted to show them that the quiet girl with the boring job could own the place. While the deal was processing, I kept up appearances. I smiled politely in the chat, stayed out of their way, and focused on my plan. And then, everything changed. After I signed the papers and the deal was sealed, I sat back for a moment and let it sink in. Billy, the same Billy they mocked over dinner, was now the owner of their favorite hangout spot. It felt surreal. The very place where they laughed at my job title was now under my control. But this wasn't just about owning a restaurant. It was about sending a message. And not just any message, one that hit right where it hurt the most. I knew these people thrived on status, appearances, and exclusivity. The restaurant had been their playground for years. They flaunted their power there, their expensive tastes, their effortless charm. And I was about to turn the tables. First, I kept the restaurant running as usual. I didn't want to raise suspicions just yet. The waitstaff, the chef, even the menu remained unchanged. I made sure of that. I was patient. Revenge is an art, after all, and you need to time your brush strokes perfectly. I still got the occasional ping in the group chat. Photos of their nights out, selfies in the restaurant, boasting about the bottle of wine they splurged on. And sometimes, the subtle mentions of me. Wonder if Billy's still proofreading code, someone would joke. I didn't respond. I simply smiled to myself. Then came the night I had been waiting for, a big group dinner, organized by Mark himself, the guy who had laughed the loudest at me. I got the invite like any other, casual, friendly, nothing suspicious. They wanted to meet up at the restaurant. That night. At the very place I now owned. I almost laughed out loud when I read the message. The audacity. But I stayed calm. I accepted. The day of the dinner arrived. I showed up early, dressed professionally, not flashy but confident. They probably didn't even recognize me when I walked in. I took a moment to walk through the restaurant, running my hand along the polished wood of the bar, watching the soft glow of the ambient lights. I went to the back office, my new office, and watched the preparations unfold. The staff were professional, polite, but I could see the curiosity in their eyes when they recognized me. Then the group arrived. They came in with their usual swagger, laughing loudly, confident they were about to have another night of status-boosting fun. They didn't know that this time, the game had changed. As they were seated, I stayed back, out of sight, letting the anticipation build. I overheard their conversation as they poked fun at the menu prices, the wine list, the portions. "It's overpriced," Lisa said, scoffing at the wine list. "But I guess that's how these places stay exclusive." Mark added, "Quality control analyst, huh? Bet she's counting every penny while we enjoy the best." I could have shouted, "I own this place," but instead, I waited. The dinner progressed. The food was good, the wine flowed, and the laughter got louder. Then came the moment I had been planning for. I asked the manager to bring me out to the main dining area. I walked to their table, calm, collected, and said, "Good evening. I'm Billy, the owner of this restaurant." They froze. The smirks disappeared. Eyes widened. A few gasps. Mark stammered, You own this place?" "Yes," I said, "and I've been making sure everything runs smoothly, from the kitchen to the last glass of wine." The table was silent. Lisa tried to laugh it off. "Well, that's unexpected." I smiled. "I'm glad you find it unexpected. Because last time we met here, some of you laughed at my job title. You mocked what I do, as if it was something insignificant. I suppose you didn't expect the quiet girl with the boring job to be the one behind this place." I let the words sink in. Then, I continued, "Owning this restaurant means I control the environment where you parade your success. And from now on, I have a few changes in mind." They looked confused, nervous even. "I'll start by updating the menu prices. You'll find that some of your favorite dishes will be a little less exclusive. And the wine list, well, we'll be making some changes there too." Mark's face twisted in disbelief. "You can't do that." "Watch me," I said softly. I left the table, letting the silence settle. That night, I felt a rush of satisfaction. It wasn't just about money. It was about respect. About proving that my value wasn't defined by a flashy title or a high salary. It was about owning my power, quietly but decisively. In the days that followed, I made good on my word. The prices went up, not ridiculously, but enough to make them notice. The wine list was adjusted to remove some of the ultra-premium brands they loved to brag about. And the staff was instructed to treat every guest with the same respect, regardless of their status. I even hired a sommelier with a sharp eye for quality over price, someone who could recommend a fantastic wine that wasn't about the label but the taste. The group chat lit up with complaints. "This place is getting expensive. What happened to the wine selection? I don't think I'll be coming back here." And I just smiled. But here's where things got interesting. One night, a viral review appeared online. The restaurant was praised for its authentic atmosphere, exquisite service, and refined taste. It was a glowing recommendation, but with a twist. The reviewer hinted that the restaurant was no longer a place for show-offs but a place for people who appreciated real quality. Suddenly, the restaurant became the hottest spot in town, but not for the usual crowd. The clientele shifted. People who valued substance over status started filling the tables. Artists, entrepreneurs, even tech professionals like me. I was transforming the place from a playground for the arrogant into a haven for the genuine. Meanwhile, the group chat turned into a lamentation. They begged, they joked nervously about missing their old stomping grounds, and some even tried to invite me to dinner again, awkwardly, sheepishly. But I stayed silent. I wasn't done. Because owning a restaurant was just the beginning of my plan to rewrite the story they had written about me. By the time I had the restaurant firmly under my control, the dynamic had shifted completely. The place had morphed from their exclusive playground into a thriving hub for people who actually appreciated quality, authenticity, and a little humility. And those old friends? They were left standing outside, peering in through fogged-up windows, wondering how it all happened. But I wasn't satisfied with just turning the tables quietly. No, I wanted my friends to remember exactly who had pulled the strings, and how thoroughly. One evening, I announced a private event at the restaurant. Invitations were exclusive, sent out under the guise of a charity fundraiser. My old group, especially Mark and Lisa, were among the first to receive an invite. The tone was polite, elegant, and mysterious. When they showed up, they expected the usual pomp and circumstance. Instead, they were greeted by a sleek reception area decked with tasteful decorations and a guest list that included local influencers, business leaders, and some familiar faces from their own circles, but with one notable absence: me. I watched from behind the scenes, sipping my coffee in the back office, as they mingled awkwardly. The tension was thick. Mark, clearly uncomfortable, leaned into Lisa and whispered, "Where is she? Why isn't she here?" Lisa scanned the room nervously. I don't know. Maybe she's running late? Hours passed, and I stayed out of sight, letting the event unfold. When it came time for speeches, the organizer announced a surprise guest, me. The room hushed. I stepped onto the small stage, the spotlight finding me easily. I smiled, genuinely, as I took the microphone. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming to support a cause that means a lot to me. I spoke about the charity, the importance of community, and the power of transformation. Then I turned to my old group, who were visibly uncomfortable. Some of you might remember me as the girl with the boring job, the one you laughed at during dinner not long ago. A few shifted in their seats. Well, tonight I want to share a little secret. The restaurant you once treated as your playground is mine now. Every dish, every glass of wine, every smiling server is part of a vision I brought to life. Their eyes widened. But more importantly, I continued, this place is no longer just about status or appearances. It's about respect, inclusivity, and genuine success. The crowd applauded politely, but I knew the real show was yet to come. After the speech, I mingled, not with my old group, but with the new crowd that admired the change. When I finally approached Mark and Lisa, they looked stunned. Lisa stammered, Billy, I didn't expect all this. I smiled. You thought I was just the girl who proofread software. Turns out, I'm also the woman who owns the place where you spent your nights trying to impress each other. Mark tried to defend himself, but I cut him off gently. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about growth. For me, and maybe for you, if you can admit that you underestimated me. They didn't say much. Later that night, as they left, I overheard them whispering among themselves. She's different now. Yeah, no more laughing at Billy. And that was my final victory. I didn't need to humiliate them or throw insults. I just had to let success speak for itself. Owning the restaurant wasn't just about business. It was about proving that respect isn't given based on titles or status. It's earned, quietly, patiently, and sometimes with a little sarcasm. So, to anyone out there who's ever been laughed at for their job or their dreams, remember this, the quiet ones? They might just be the ones holding all the cards. And as for me? Well, I'm already planning my next move.